I took a bullet and I'm still standing, but we are together still standing and stronger than ever because we are in a battle right now of good versus evil. We're going to save the country and not be intimidated at all, none of us. So we're going to do it together. Give yourself all a round of applause for being here, fearlessly coming out for President Trump, day in and day out. So for those who don't know me, my name is Mike Crispy, and as it was mentioned, I have a pretty large podcast with Salem Media and on Rumble, but I'm also the chair of the America First Republicans in New Jersey, and we've been all around the state this year activating people to vote in the election, to get involved, to engage themselves and engage their neighbors in ways that they might have not have done before. You know, there's so many ways that people can go vote, and there's so many situations where people don't vote, right? They didn't know the election day, they didn't know the early vote, they didn't send their vote by mail back. But we are showing and we are proving that if we come together, get active, engage our neighbors and our friends, that not only will New Jersey be in play, but we are now, with 31 days left, within 3 points of flipping New Jersey red for the first time since 1988. You know, at the Trump rally in Wildwood, I was on the stage and I talked about that, and then the fake news media said we were crazy. They said I was mental because New Jersey can never go red. But I'm telling you guys, the reason why this state is about to turn is because President Trump has built a coalition of every type of person, every type of voter. He's up with Hispanics, he's up with black voters, he's up with young voters, he's up with white voters, every single demographic, because no matter who you are, you stand for these policies that are rooted in common sense, stopping illegal immigration, empowering people to run their own businesses and have the economy be unleashed, reduce inflation, and not start foreign wars where our sons or daughters will be put in harm's way to die. I think no matter who you are, you can agree with that if you're not tainted by fake news propaganda. Can we agree with that? Absolutely. We have a big program today, and I want to thank Working Together for New Jersey and the Mordecai mission for putting this together. And we have so many speakers, so I don't want to wait too long. Later in the program, we'll tell you some action items so you guys can engage your neighbors and turn out the vote. But I want to bring to the stage here to kind of get us started the people who really put in a lot of the legwork to get us here, get us where we are. They're courageous, they're fearless, and it's such an honor to share the stage with them. Where's Yvonne Patterson, Pastor William Green, and Sheila Montague? Can you join us on stage, please?
We are trying to bring people together. We are not trying to divide people.
And each one will say a word here to welcome us to Newark.
Backed organizations, just so you know, we're not trying to divide anybody.
So good morning, everybody. Good morning. Let's clap it up for Trump 2024. We can do better than that. Let's clap it up for Trump 2024. One thing that is important that we recognize is that we are in the city of Newark. This is historical, where we're having a Trump rally because we understand that he is the candidate at this time that needs to be in office. Let's give it up for that. Another thing that we must be cognitively aware of is that liberation is the thing that we want shared by all. We have the freedom of speech, we have the freedom of choice and decision making, but that gets taken away from us when we don't have a quality education that teaches people in urban communities that we have two candidates, not just one and not just one party, the Democratic Party. It is incumbent upon us as teachers to make sure we teach beyond the school. And as a 25-year educator in the city of Newark, I am so proud that I was able to contact other educators that you will see and hear from today. They share these same sentiments. Through our media, which is supporting censorship in this day and age, it is so imperative that we make sure that the facts get known and not distorted. It's so important that we fight back against misinformation that doesn't allow us to pick our candidates without the manipulation, without the misinformation that tells us things that make us only want to vote for one party. So I'm happy to be here today. Many of you may not know, my name is Sheila. I don't know if I've said that. I'm a former mayoral candidate, also a former congressional candidate for District 10. And what I want to do today is bring us all here around the commonality is that we are one. We're one country. We're the best country. And if you look around today, it's a multitude of different people who share that sentiment. And with that being said, I just want to introduce to you some of the most phenomenal people today. But I don't want to be remiss to say, Miss Barbara Ames, right there. I just want to say thank you to her. She is one of the best coordinators ever there were. And I so appreciate her for being bold and brave and supporting me in this task. I will never forget it. And with that being said, I want to introduce you to another phenomenal woman, and her name is Yvonne Patterson. Come on up, Yvonne. Give it up for Yvonne.
Good afternoon, everyone. Oh my goodness, what a glorious day we have today. How beautiful, right? I have so much to be thankful for. I'm not going to go too far that way because it'll start echoing. Wow, let me see everybody raise your hand. Come on, lift up your hands, right? Oh my goodness, we're so thankful and so grateful for your love, for your faithfulness, for your diligence, and coming out and being supported. Barbara, Bill, and Ames, thank you. Give them another round of applause. And our whole team that has been available to do what's needed in such a time as now. So why Newark? Why Newark? Well, Newark is 300, almost 60 years old. It will be in 2026. This great city helped to found the nation. So when we're doing a little bit research in terms of Newark and the significance of advancing representation in our nation, we have to look back at who came here to support that. So we had George Washington that came and fought with Reverend McWhirter right down on Broad Street. The British didn't like it, and so they burned down the church. But we have a long historic past of the faith community coming together with government. When they say there's separation of church and state, how many really believe that? I don't believe it, because you can't check your faith at the door. You've got to go in and bring your principles and your ideals, because if you don't get them. And we are called to be in there and sharing the love, sharing the goodness, sharing what God intended. So for those who are Bible study students, how many of you know the story of David? And when he messed up, who came and corrected him? Nathan. Come on now, Bible students. So, it required, Jesus said that it's going to take the king and I don't hear him respond. The king and the priest. The king and the priest. It's balancing the scales. We can't have the Senate and not have the representative house, because it brings balance to perspective. So we're here today to bring balance. A balanced perspective on what we know works best for the people of our nation. And we have to stand for that. So we're standing, we stand for freedom. We stand for freedom. We stand for freedom and liberty. Oh, we stand for freedom. We stand for freedom. We stand for freedom and liberty. So we're now in Lincoln Park. Who knows the story about Lincoln and Newark? It's a great story. He came and he said he wanted to bow before the citizens of the city of Newark as he was elected. He didn't have to come, but he was pressed to come, and he came and he said, I'm going to bow 3 times to show my humility, to show my love, and to show my faithfulness. And so here we have Lincoln Park today because of the humility that leadership requires. Humility that leadership requires. And so he came and he said, yes, I'm going to honor the citizens of Newark, because the citizens have given me the opportunity to represent them in Washington. That's important. So the other is important is we have a graveyards full of soldiers that fought and died for this nation. You go to Arlington National Cemetery and all you see is a sea of white headstones. You go to every community in our nation and you'll see these markers of military leaders that stood for the strength, for the vitality, for the ideals of our nation. And we need to step on their shoulders and say, we will not forget what you died for. We will honor the fight and we will stand for you. So we're standing on the shoulders of Washington. We're standing on the shoulders of Lincoln. We're standing on the shoulders of all of our great leaders that have come to this city and said, we're going to raise a revolution to bring change, not only for Newark, but for our nation. And the government is upon his shoulders. And so we have to make sure that we are aligned with God's truth, with his righteousness, and with his peace. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you for showing your support. So goes Newark, so goes the nation. Let me hear you say it. So goes Newark, so goes the nation. God bless you.
God bless you. I want to answer the 50-year-old question. Should the church, should Christians be involved in politics? Yes, absolutely. Now you would say yes, but the Bible would say no. Well, let me explain that from the Bible. Isaiah 9:6 says, "For unto us a child shall be born. To us a son shall be given, and the government shall be upon his shoulders. And his name shall be called Wonderful, Counselor, the Mighty God, Everlasting Father, Prince of Peace. There shall be no end to the increase of his government. He shall rule on the throne of David and over his kingdom, to establish it and uphold it with justice and righteousness from this time forward and forevermore. The zeal of the Lord will accomplish this." So, what does all that mean? As people of faith, as Christians, we do not need to be involved in politics. Politics is dirty. Politics is dirty. It's full of quid pro quo deals, lobbying. You look at Joe Biden. Even though he's reaping what he sows, why can't he run again for president? Because the donors said he can't run. That's not government. That's not the way it should be. But as Christians, we need Christians from the White House down to the school board to change the laws in this country. The government must be upon whose shoulders? Christ's shoulders. And we must bear that mandate to turn this country around, to bring Christ to the forefront of our society. You see, for too long, society has dictated to the church. But it's time for the church to dictate to society. What thus saith the Lord? No more of this compromised gossip. No more of worrying about who's going to be offended. No more worrying about what names they will call us. But as we stand for righteousness, we must stand boldly and publicly. Because the Bible says, faith without works is dead. It's time for God's people to do work. Well, the Bible says we must work while it is day, for a night is coming when no man can work. But the endeavor of all of this is we have to have direction from the Lord. And what should that direction be? Over the next 4 years, the body of Christ, we need to take back the Republican Party. Now notice I said take back. Amen. See, many people don't realize the Republican Party, in its inception, was started by Holy Ghost filled born again Christians. Right. William Lloyd Garrison, John Brown, Frederick Douglass. And what was the endeavor of their heart? To end slavery in America. You see, when people talk this nonsense about critical race theory, they ignore this. But what is the true history of how slavery ended? It was God's people, Christians, who came together and they understood in order to end slavery in this country, they couldn't be on the outside looking in, hoping the present lawmakers would be benevolent to them. But they had enough wisdom to understand that they have to be in government. So what did they do? They formed a party. What was the name of that party? The Republican Party. And because of their combined efforts, God blessed their endeavor in electing a true Christian president in Abraham Lincoln. And what else happened? We know from history, the Civil War ensued, and the North won, and slavery was ended. So what is the overall understanding that we need to have? Whenever God's people come together collectively, there is nothing that is impossible for God to do through the collective efforts of his people. Because think about this. Who would have ever thought in the 1800s slavery would come to an end? Think about that. But who brought an end to it? God's people. God's people. And we today, we serve the same God. And we need to take back what we started, what we created. You see, the problem with Christianity today, we allow the ungodly to take what God has given us to do and what God has allowed us to accomplish. But not only do we allow the Republican Party to be taken from God's people, we allow the rainbow to be taken from God's people. The rainbow has nothing to do with homosexuality. Yes, I see. The rainbow was a covenant between God and his people. What else we allowed to be taken from us that we initiated? Prayer out of school. Prayer was a godly principle that we established, and we let one woman in 1964, Madeleine O'Hare, to take prayer and the Bible out of school. And there was no outcry from the Christians. So today, we serve the same God of Abraham Lincoln. We serve the same God as William Brown. We serve the same God as Frederick Douglass. And God has called us for such a time as this to take a stand for righteousness. We must have Christians, true born-again Christians, who will not serve as politicians, but who will be statesmen and stateswomen. What's the difference between a statesman and a politician? A statesman, once they get elected and they're in office, they will stay true to God and his principles. See, politicians will do anything and say anything for a vote. We can't be like that. Amen. We have to stand on God's principles and never deviate from it. Amen. So now is the time that we come together and bring forth Christ to the forefront of our society. We must be engaged in government, not politics. We don't want to play those dirty games. But we want to serve God with distinction in the Senate, in the Congress, in governor's offices, mayor's office, and yes, we need Christians on the school boards. Do you see what they're doing to our children? Yes. The schools have become indoctrination centers instead of education facilities, telling little boys they could be little girls. telling little girls they could be little boys, to the point where people have to homeschool their children. It shouldn't be that way. We pay the taxes in these schools, whether our children attend them or not. So in closing, we need to allow God to use us and use us collectively to bring about righteous change in this country so that we can have men and women of God in government, not politics, change the laws and create the laws henceforth, which means from this point on, let us work together while it's today to bring about righteous change in our country. God bless you.
All right, that was amazing, amazing. One more round of applause for these amazing speakers doing amazing work. And Sheila was telling me she lives right down there, and she's going to be working for the next 31 days. She said, we're going to get the vote out in Newark, and our battle has just begun, and she's going to run again, and she's going to win, because people, they try to intimidate you, they try to push you down, they tell you it's not possible, but Sheila here, again, right there, tell me as I'm sitting here, oh, we're going to get the vote out for Trump. We're going to win this election. We've just gotten started, and the America First Republicans are going to be very excited to support her in the effort. Mike Byrne, come up to the stage here, who is the co-chair of the America First Republicans, who's going to come up and just very briefly talk about some very quick action takeaways, and then we're going to get into our panels, and we have some amazing things coming up. But when it comes to action, you know, getting the vote out, turning on your friends and neighbors, getting people engaged in the process, that's what this is about. We can talk, we can have the right ideals, but if we don't know what they don't want us to know, then we're not going to win this election. That's what this is about. It's about action and engaging people in new ways, so we are too big to rig on election day and after. Too big to rig. That's right. And Mike Byrne's going to say a word about that. Mike Byrne, co-chair of the America First Republicans. Mike?
Thank you, Chairman. Thank you to Barbara and Yvonne and Sheila and Pastor Green and everybody, Dave, and everybody helped put this event together. It's been a tremendous amount of effort, time, work, and expense over the last several weeks. And we got the weather. God gave us the weather. He's looking down upon us. He's looking down upon our president. He's looking down upon us and what we're doing here in Essex County and across New Jersey. A little hot. Listen, President Trump said that we have to make this election too big to rig. And if you look back to 2021, we know what happened in 2021 in this state, where we had a gubernatorial candidate who lost a very close race. And when you look at the turnout afterward, half of the Republicans, half of registered Republicans did not vote in this state. Hundreds of thousands of Republicans didn't vote, and our gubernatorial candidate lost by just 10, 20, 30,000 votes, okay? And so what we found is that over the last several years, as they've expanded vote by mail, for better or for worse, they've expanded vote by mail, the Democrats have encouraged their low propensity voters, their voters who don't vote every year, to sign up for the vote by mail list. And when they sign up for the vote by mail list, they get their ballot 45 days before Election Day. This year they got their ballots on September 22nd, or maybe say September 24th, once they finally came in the mail. And as a result, the Democrats spend 45 days reminding their low propensity people that they can vote because they have a ballot sitting on their kitchen table or in their living room table, on their countertop. 45 days, they send them text messages, digital ads, they go and they knock on their door, they send them mail, and all those contacts finally encourage or harass their low propensity voters into voting when they otherwise wouldn't. Since we've been resistant to it, and we like voting on Election Day, we only have 14 hours to get our people to vote. 6 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Election Day. And you see, we can't compete with that. So long as there's early voting and vote by mail, we have to use it to get our low propensity people to vote, because what have we got to lose? What have we got to lose by getting our low propensity people to vote early? So Mike, at the Wildwood rally with President Trump, announced the Project 14 initiative of the America First Republicans. We asked all America First patriots to take a list that we'll give you of 14 low propensity voters in your neighborhoods, in your precincts, and knock on their door, call them, and ask them to vote by mail, or ask them to vote early. There's 10 days of early voting now at maybe 10 or 20 locations around Essex County where you can vote in person, just as you would on election day. Or if you don't want to vote by mail, or if they don't want to vote by mail, or they don't want to vote early on a machine, they can vote early at the county. They can go sign up for a mail-in ballot on the 3rd floor. They can get the ballot and they can go turn it in on the 2nd floor, I think. And then you can vote by mail, but you can do it all at once in person. You don't have to send anything back and forth in the mail. So there's lots of options to get our unreliable people to vote and to close that margin that the Democrats have built up over the Republicans. And so we have, if you signed up by email to be here today, we have your email, and you'll get an email after this. If you haven't signed up by email, if you don't think we have your email or your phone number, let me know, and I'll get you a list of low propensity voters in your neighborhood. We'll get you a sample script for making phone calls or for going door to door, and you can help us, and you can help, more importantly, President Trump and Billy in the 9th District, Anthony in the 8th District, Carmen in the 10th District. You can help all of them get the vote out and close that margin. And with that, I'll turn it back to our leader, Mike Christie.
Thank you. Guys, I'm telling you, more people than ever now in the next 30 days are going to look to get involved. We see what's happening in the Southeast right now with the hurricane. People left to die. In the urban area, all around the country, they're moving migrants into school gymnasiums and creating facilities, taking over parks, and giving them the resources that were promised to revitalize those cities. They're essentially leaving their voting base out to die. We see the way they pushed pornography and destabilizing materials in the schools. People are saying, why is this? How do we get to this point? And then obviously we're going to talk about medical freedom, which is still a big issue. How do we get to a point where elected leaders, Democrats and Republicans, are turning the other way and being wishy-washy about the most fundamental thing, putting an experimental chemical concoction into your body? How have we gotten to a point where that is allowable? How that's even happening? How that's even normalized? It's because people aren't engaged. It's because people don't know. If we had the turnout, we win every single time. And that's our goal here. So goes New Jersey, goes the country. So goes Newark, goes New Jersey. 10 to 15 points up here, a swing in this city. Democrats can never win this state again. And we're not only going to do that here, we're going to do that in every single urban area. And President Trump will restore opportunity zones, restore empowerment in the economy, and restore safety in our communities. It's fundamental, and it's a core tenet of what every city and every citizen of every city deserves. So with that, I'm going to hand it over back to the Queen of Newark, Sheila, to lead us in our next segment here. Round of applause for all the work she's doing. Sheila.
Okay, so I'm going to invert the order right now. Would you pass me that paper, please? Because some of the candidates that are here, they would like the opportunity to speak. And what this is really about, I love the phrase too big to rig. I love that phrase because we want to have and advocate always for free and fair elections. So with that being said, I'm going to go to the bottom of the agenda and we're going to ask for Anthony Valdez for Congress. Is he here? Is Anthony here? Let's give it up for Anthony. He's going to come up and say a few words.
How's everybody today? You know what? I can't believe I'm at a Trump rally in Newark. This is unbelievable. My name is Anthony Valdez. I'm the Republican candidate for Congress in New Jersey's 8th District, which is most of Hudson County, Elizabeth, and parts of Newark, North Newark, and the Ironbound section. And a lot of people ask me, well, why are you doing this? You know, your odds of winning are not good at all. And I tell them the same thing all the time. Like a lot of Americans today, like everyone sitting here right now, I am sick and tired of the nonsense and the incompetence in our nation's capital. Isn't everybody here? Isn't everybody feel the same way? I mean, come on. Listen, we're supposed to be the greatest country in the world, the richest, most powerful country in the world. And guess what? It doesn't feel like that sometimes, does it? We have so many issues in our country right now. Look at inflation. Inflation is destroying this country. You go grocery shopping, you're paying double, triple. Rent is up. Your bills are up. Phone bills, insurance, everything, you name it. And why is that? The failed policies of the Biden-Harris administration has caused this inflation. The only way to get out of this is to become American energy independent. I know the environmentalists are not going to want to hear that, but quite frankly, we need to start producing more oil, more gas, and more coal to get our economy back on track, and honestly, bring down prices across the board. That's one. Two, look at our southern border. Now, people are going to look at me, they're not going to believe me. I am the son of immigrants. My father came to this country from Cuba in 1961. My mother came from Mexico in 1969. Yo hablo español, so cualquiera de la gente aquí que habla español. A ver, hay gente aquí que habla español. Okay. So listen, I understand. Immigrants are coming. Look at what's going on with our southern border. You know, I'm all for immigration, legal immigration. I know these people come here for a better way of life. But quite frankly, what's happening right now is an invasion. It's an invasion. They've been taken. Look, you see it here. Listen, I'm a state employee. I'm an inspector for the state. I work on the streets of Newark, and I see it here. I mean, you could go to Springfield Avenue outside Home Depot. It looks like the southern border out there. Okay? So let me tell you, like I said, I'm all for immigration, but what's going on is an invasion. These people have been taken to our biggest cities across the country, and those cities are in financial crisis because of it. Because they gotta house them, they gotta feed them, their kids gotta go to school. Financial, social services are being taken back. Schools are being overburdened. We have police response, fire response. All that stuff is taking a hit. All that stuff. And with an open border, remember, you also have drug trafficking, human trafficking, sex trafficking. Look at the crime rate spiking in our country. We have to bring common sense back to our country. We have to. We have to. Look at the crime. Look at New Jersey. Somebody assaults somebody else, they rob them, they stab them. Guess what? They're back on the street tomorrow. What is that? That's ridiculous. Am I right? I mean, come on. And lastly, real quick, listen, look at what's going on in the world right now. Look what's going on in the Middle East. Look what's going on in the Ukraine. You know, it's unstable. Look, why is it that this country has hundreds of billions of dollars for other countries that do nothing for us, but we don't have money for our own people? I mean, come on, that's ridiculous. That's ridiculous. We need to put America first, and we need to keep American taxpayer dollars here in this country and in our neighborhoods. And in closing, listen, I'll just say this. Listen, I am the common man for the common people. I'm not a rich man, I'm not a doctor, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not a politician. I'm none of those things. But if you elect me, I promise I'll give you my all, and I won't quit. God bless Donald Trump. God bless this country. Thank you.
So it's very important we get to hear the candidates who are running, and we don't just rely on media to tell us who they are, that we get to see them in person. The next person on the list is Michelle Middleton, that is running for Congress for CD10, and she's running as an independent. Please give it up for Michelle Middleton.
Can you say bye to me, please? Oh, thank you.
I know, right? Good morning, good morning. Thank you for coming out with us today.
Hi, everyone. Nice to see everybody out on this wonderful Saturday afternoon. As Ms. Montague said, my name is Michelle Middleton. I'm running for U.S. Congress. I'm an independent. I'm running for District 10 right here in New Jersey. You know, I don't have a lot to say about, you know, anything dealing with the presidential campaign or anything like that. But what I can tell you is that I want to emphasize our critical need in this country to take care of our seniors. That's one of the things that is at my core of my campaign. For one, the seniors are being forgotten. For whatever reason, when we start the numbers in our lives and we have that dash in the middle, the dash is the seniors. The dash is the seniors that have paved the way for us in this country. I'm a retired New York City police officer. I spent 20 plus years in executive management, and I'm a lobbyist in the state of New Jersey here. Lobbyist for good though. And what I see happening in my own personal life with my mom is that her benefits, everything's being taken away. If you worked all your life and you're retired, Medicare, Medicaid seems to be going out of the window somehow. That's the theory that I have. The senior population is being forgotten. Additionally, I'd like to tell you about Social Security. For years, we've had the scare that Social Security may never, ever be coming into the future because of certain political aspects of Social Security. And we need to ensure that our people are taken care of. How many of you have worked your entire life to come to the point of being afraid of living with dignity? How many of you? Right? We have veterans here in the audience, and I just would hope to see them live the rest of their lives with the benefits that they deserved and that they worked for and cultivated in this country. So I just want to say, you know, I am an independent. I am not with any party. My slogan is, this is about all of us, because it truly is. It's not about Republican or Democrat. It's not about anybody but us, all of us. So thank you for having me today. I wish I had a lot more to say, but just go take a look at my email, my website, which is michellemiddleton4congress.com, and you'll find out a little bit more about me. Thank you again for having me, and have a good day. Thank you.
Again, we want to give it up for Michelle Middleton. And this is what we need. We need everybody, Republicans, Democrats, independents. We need everybody coming out, getting the correct information, and making educational choices about who we put in leadership. Next, we have Billy Prempeh. Am I saying that correctly? Is Billy here today? Awesome. Let's give it up for Billy, everybody. Thank you for coming out today. Thank you so much. The champion from Patterson, absolutely.
So many people probably wonder how to pronounce my name. My family's from Ghana, so it's not an American name. As you've noticed, my last name is Prempeh, Billy Prempeh. So I want to tell you guys a little bit of a story about how I found myself in this position. There was once a guy who came and he gave us some very bold promises. He told us that he was going to bring change, and he was going to bring hope. He was going to help fix the economy. He was going to help the African American community. He was going to help revitalize the inner cities. I believed that guy. Not only did I believe that guy, but I actually voted for that guy as well too. And I was so proud to vote for that guy that I decided to join the United States Air Force and serve my country. The country's done so much for me, and what an honor it was to serve under the first black president. At least this is what I believe. I served under Barack Obama, and I wanted to do what was right by my country. But when I came back home, and this is after all the chaos and destruction that happened in the Middle East under his watch, he expanded the drone wars, expanded more chaos in the Middle East. I came home, and Occupy Wall Street was going on. Our country was falling apart, our economy was not doing well. A lot of the people that I knew were having a hard time finding work. I had a hard time finding work. And I had to sit with myself, sit with my thoughts, sit with the beliefs that I thought I had, and wonder, why exactly do I call myself a Democrat? why exactly did I vote for this guy? Because everything he said didn't follow through. When he could have bailed out the American people, he instead bailed out the banks. When he said he would end the wars, he expanded the wars. When he said he was going to help out the African community, he didn't necessarily do that. He actually helped the rainbow community so much more than he did in our inner cities. While growing up in Patterson and seeing what's happening, I'm noticing that not only are people having a hard time finding work, businesses were closing, drugs were getting all over the place, the violent crime expanded as well too. I had a conversation with a good friend back in 2008, before I decided to join the military, before I even voted for this guy. And he told me about a guy named Ron Paul. And I did not care to hear what Ron Paul had to say or what he believed, because I said, you know, this guy is a Republican. And those are the racists. Those are the people, they hate people that look like me. I didn't want to hear it, but when I came back home and I saw how messed up our economy was, I decided to dive into what he was talking about. And he broke down how the Federal Reserve works and how the fractional reserve banking system has been bankrupting our nation since its inception in 1913. And I was wondering, why did I never learn these things in school? Because our government makes it seem like they can just print money and no one has to pay for it. But at the same time, our taxes are going up. When you go back to 1770s, they shot people in the face for a small tax on tea. Now we're paying close to 44%. And no one told me that this banking system is the culprit. You fast forward to about 2015, and there was a guy with some really funny hair. He lived in a golden building in New York. He had a massive jet. He was so pompous. I didn't like him. I wasn't a fan of him. My father, on the other hand, he loved this guy. He thought that he was the epitome of the American dream. It's one of the reasons why when he worked for NJ Transit, he would always drive down to the Trump Taj Mahal and just marvel at what he saw. He was like, man, one day, I'm gonna do this. I remember why I came here, you know? And then when he said that he was gonna run for president, I thought this guy was crazy. I thought you had to have some degree. I thought you had to have some kind of political background before you decide to get involved in politics. And this guy didn't have that. I voted for him after hearing him speak about the fractional reserve banking system and how inflation will cripple us in a matter of years if we allow this to continue. And I said, there's one other guy that I heard talk about that, Ron Paul. And he caught my attention. And then he said something that many people started the whole racism belief when he said, we need to secure the southern border. And we need to put America first. We need to build that wall. We're going to build it high. You know all the mannerisms he said. And instantly I was like, yes, because you know why? When my family came to this country, they came here legally. They came here the right way. They also brought 14 other relatives from Ghana, every single one of them coming in the right way. My cousin, when I was in England in the military, when he came to the United States, he was 27. He applied to be a citizen. Well, correction, my parents applied for him to be a citizen when he was 10. So he had to wait 17 years, right? So 14 people come into this country, they come in here the right way, they're happy, they're building their businesses, they're living their lives, yet on the southern border, the same southern border that Barack Obama also wanted to secure, that every previous president before him wanted to secure, it suddenly became racist as soon as Donald Trump said to build this wall. And I said, this isn't a white thing, this isn't a black thing, this is a security thing. I won't allow a stranger into my house. I lock my car, I lock my house, I lock everything. Why don't we lock our country? Why would we allow people to come in and take advantage of our country? See, when I went to the southern border in 2021, it shocked me because it was far worse than anything that we've seen on television. It was a million times worse. 2 out of every 3 women and children that cross that southern border get sexually trafficked. They pay the little amount of money that they've got in their pockets to these cartels to get them into the United States. And we bust them in, we give them haircuts, give them plane tickets, fly them all across the country. So now, in the past 3 years, we're spending about $151 billion every single year to deal with this crisis. But you know one thing I found very interesting when I went into Mexico? Before you walk in, have you guys been to Mexico before? Anybody? All right, you ever crossed the border? What do you see? You see guys out there with huge rifles, military guys, they play no games, right? I break their law and I walk into their country and I cross that border illegally. I'm either gonna get a bullet in my head or I'm gonna go into some dingy, scary jail that I don't wanna be in, right? But in America, we give you everything. And that's cool because we are a country that's a great country. The problem is, we're respecting people that don't respect us, that don't respect our laws. If I come into your house and I put my shoes on your coffee table, that's disrespectful, right? But I should be allowed to do that. You allowed me into your country, right? It's the same logic that I see. Now, I wanted to be a change. I wanted to be a part of this change after hearing what President Trump was talking about. And after 4 years of him being in the White House in 2020, I made the decision to go down to the Trump rally in South Jersey. And after hearing this guy speak, I had an epiphany and I thought about it. I said, this guy is not a military expert. He is not a politician. He is not a strategist other than business. But how is it possible that this guy came out of nowhere and for 6 years under Barack Obama, even when I was in the military, we were battling ISIS. They were killing people, beheading Christians, and destroying the world. Yet the guy with the silly hair in the Golden Tower came out of nowhere and wiped them out in a matter of months. When Kim Jong-un threatened the world, and even before that, what was the guy's name, his father? Can't remember the father's name, but the father, Kim Jong-il, that's right. Kim Jong-il would threaten our country with nuclear weapons. We're gonna go bomb you guys. Hey, check out our new thing. We're gonna launch it over Japan. His son continued the same thing. And all of our previous presidents were like, we don't want to mess with this guy. Don't deal with this guy. But here comes President Trump. Rocket Man's got a button. I got an even bigger button. He almost lost my support by saying that. You want to know why? Because I don't want to go to war. I don't want to have people die because you want to go and be brash. But you know the funny thing about that? He showed the world that no one is going to mess with us. And if anyone is going to mess with us, I'm going to fight for you. Not only am I going to fight for you, I'm going to show up to your doorstep and you're going to respect me and you're going to respect the United States of America. And for the first time in over 50 years, he was able to walk into North Korea. And for a while, the world was at peace. In the Middle East, we were at peace, right? So in 2020 at this Trump rally, I said, you know, if he could come out of nowhere and pull that off, I can pull that off. I decided to run for Congress in 2020, which is an insane mission. It's an insane mission. Coming out of Patterson, New Jersey, living in the 4th Ward, I was really upset. One of the first videos, if you go on my social media, you can see it. I pull up to my house, and one of my neighbors got shot in the head. All right? So I pull up to my house, one of my neighbors gets shot in the head, and I leave this very fiery rant about why exactly do we keep voting for Democrats. This city has been controlled by Democrats for the past 37 years. It's not gotten better, but they tell us the guy with the golden hair is the racist and he's ruining the entire country. He's not coming here and shooting these people in the head. He's not the one allowing all this reckless crime into our community. He's not the one that wants to keep the border wide open while fentanyl floods our streets and people start dying. I decided to run, and I was one of the few people that went door to door with the Trump hat. Still do it to this day. I would go to a Trump hat, I would talk with people, and the truth is, I learned something. People are saying, why are you wearing the Trump hat? Don't get too close to Trump. You're going to lose a lot of voters. But the truth is, it did the complete opposite, because I went and I spoke with people that would never vote Republican. I went and I spoke with Democrats, and they were actually intrigued. Why is a black guy with dreadlocks on my front porch wearing a Trump hat and telling me to go and vote Republican? Not only were they intrigued, but the truth is, Republicans never came out. Republicans never went into the inner city. And as I did that, that built momentum. And we broke a record. We got 31%, 98,000 plus voters per Republican, the first time it's been done since 1983. And I said, you know, I didn't do too bad. Bill Pascrell's been in there 27 years. Let me give it a second go. So in 2022, I decided to run. And we broke a record again. We went from 31% to 44% of the vote. In Bergen County, the largest county, we got 49% of the vote. Well, we won on election day, but then, you know, the vote by mails and all that. 1,100 came in, and we fell short, 44%. So now we're 6% from victory. I decided, you know what? Let's go and do this one last time. The third time is not only the charm. The third time is when we bring home the Republican Party to the 9th District. So, something interesting happened, however, right? Joe Biden, everyone knew he had dementia. They decided that he's still going to be our guy. But then they swapped him out, even though everybody knew that there was something wrong with the guy. I thought that was interesting. They swapped him out with the DEI candidates. Got to be a female, got to be black. Okay. The 9th District, my former opponent, Congressman Bill Pascrell, he was 87 years old. In Congress, 27 years, 40 plus years in politics. He passed away about a month ago. And the thing that was interesting about that was they decided to go and choose a candidate that he handpicked in 1997 to fill his seat in the assembly. Shortly after that, she became a senator. Never faced a serious primary, never faced a serious Republican contender. But This is who they chose. And the thing that I found very interesting about that is, they're not just doing this here at a congressional level, they're doing this at a presidential level at the highest order. They did it with the president, they're doing it here in the congressional race, and I see it happening across the country in other people's races as well too. This seems to be the strategy. They believe the people are stupid, they believe people are gonna vote for people simply because of their race or their gender. We need to choose this female because she's a Latina and she's been in the state house and she's from up here in District 9. That's why we're gonna choose her. And nobody's buying it. Nobody in the city of Patterson is buying it. Nobody in the city of Passaic is buying it. No one anywhere is buying it. So by spreading my message and continuing to get the word out, we forced her into a situation that they would love to avoid. She now has to get on stage and debate on the 16th of this month, where you're going to be able to see what she stands for. You're going to hear what I stand for. Many of you guys do know what I stand for. The truth is, our district needs new leadership. Our district needs someone that will be tough on crime, someone that will put the values and the lives of Americans first, not Ukraine, Taiwan, and other foreign countries that we're spending billions of dollars for. Our infrastructure sucks, yet we're worried about what's going on the other side. So, the only way we're going to be able to do this, though, and I don't want you guys to be happy because, hey, we got a bunch of Republicans here, but there's a lot of people that don't know our message. There's a lot of people that have a false belief about our message. You can't be afraid to walk up to them and have an uncomfortable conversation. And I've gotten very good at having uncomfortable conversations. Those uncomfortable conversations will eventually turn into good conversations. And I tell people, don't vote for me because I'm a Republican. In fact, and this is what I would tell Democrats, in fact, if you can't vote for me because I'm a Republican, just don't vote against me. But the next cycle, when I get in, vote for me. You don't have to be a Republican. You like what I'm saying? Vote for me. On the third cycle, you better be a Republican when you start to see the changes. And people realize this. If this is what we've had for so long, what do we have to lose from trying something different? So 2024, Billy Prampet, your congressional candidate running to represent New Jersey's 9th District. I will see you guys in Washington, D.C. in January. Thank you.
Everybody, let's give it up for Billy Prumper. Great job, right? And just like the other candidate said, you know, this is about all of us. So great job, kudos to all of the candidates. Right now we want to switch it and we want to talk on health freedom. And we want to hear from Lily Robinson, like just a little bit about her. She's a conservative and she founded, right? How's that for leadership? She's founded Conservative Blacks of New Jersey. And she's going to come up and share a little with you guys. Let's give it up. And she's a newlywed, guys. It's all about families. It's all about families. Welcome.
So hi, everybody. Hello. I'm Lily Robinson. Can you hear me better now? Okay. I'm Lily Robinson, co-founder of Conservative Blacks of New Jersey. And although I was born and raised in the Bronx, New York, when I moved to New Jersey 2.5 years ago, I began to consider my position as a Black conservative. And over the last 4 years, in my transition from the Bronx to New Jersey, I was able to see like the active disintegration of my community and my people as a result of bad policy and bad policy decisions. So today's rally is about putting Americans in America first. And right now, as I speak, there are thousands of Americans in Asheville, North Carolina, without power, gas, basic necessities, as well as those many lives who've been lost and unaccounted for. But yet, at the same time, right across the bridge in New York City, there are thousands of Democratic migrant illegals receiving at least $2,000 per month in benefits and living in New York City's finest hotels. And as we look around here in our neighborhood in Newark, where is our aid and where is our development? We can clearly see that the plans we voted for in the past are not coming to fruition and a change must occur. So we find ourselves at a crossroads and an opportunity, most importantly, to take back our power. America and America first means taking back our hope for our American dream. The life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness that we are all due. We get to that goal by putting our communities and our families first, a focus on small businesses, and school choice. Most importantly, always voting according to our best interests, valuing policies over personalities. So in closing, I invite you all to a call of action to free our minds and change our destiny. Following steps. First, I feel like we as a collective need to acknowledge that the Democratic Party has long used scare tactics, handouts, flat out lies to control our people and our vote for their self-centered agenda. And from the 1960s till now, we've received nothing but our destruction in return, and it must end. We must vote according to our interests and being informed by, like we're here today, speaking with politicians, understanding their policies, and demanding tangible results. We must hold our leaders accountable. By continuing to influence our community to take responsibility for their individual destinies and their ability to achieve them. We all have the power to achieve within us. Focus on small business development, trade, apprenticeship, free entrepreneurship as keys to escaping government dependence and poverty. We must free ourselves and be the change we want to see. And continue to strengthen our families by promoting unity, resilience, and commitment to each other, for we are our biggest allies. So let's act now over the next 30 days and fight for the change we want to see, or we will continue to pay for the failures of our government at the expense of ourselves. Ultimately, let's take our powers and our minds back. Let's go Newark, we can do this. Thank you. Now I'm going to back over to Sheila. Thank you very much.
Okay, next we're bringing up to the mic today, this beautiful, glorious day, Reverend Clenard Childress. Is he here? Oh, okay, awesome, yes. Come on, guys, we can do better than that. This is historic. Absolutely.
All right, praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. Praise the Lord. And I'm grateful to be here in the house of God. Amen. Thank God. And I just want to say to you today that I'm going to talk about declare the end from the beginning. On April 2nd, in Memphis, Tennessee, our greatest known civil activist indeed for civil rights, Martin Luther King, said he had been to the mountaintop. And he looked over to the other side. He said, we as a people will one day get to the promised land. You represent that. You have to understand the core of that with your spirit that will cause a people, not only ourselves, but a people to get to the promise. And that is unquestionably the goal of politics and government, is to get a people to the promise. And that was basically King's last sermon, all right, that night, because he knew indeed that his days had come to a close prophetically. He said in 1963, at the assassination of John F. Kennedy, asked by the AP, he said, what do you think of this? All right. Yeah, kind of freeze me up here a little bit. He said, it's a terrible thing. Word. Can't hear you. But indeed, no doubt about it, he said, I will not see my 40th birthday. The same day will also kill me, and I won't see my 40th birthday. Well, lo and behold, at 39, on April 2nd, April 3rd, April 4th, on April 4th, an assassin's bullet took him to his maker, and he recognized and realized. I like to also interject, every year he gave his wife, Claretta, 12 fresh roses. Every year they're married, all right? But guess what? On his 39th birthday, he realized he wouldn't see 40, and he gave her 12 artificial roses. Something that would remind her, indeed, of their last exchange from his own heart to her, and not relinquishing the cause. An injustice to anyone, anywhere, is an injustice to everyone, everywhere. Yeah. Did you know when he first said that? He was incarcerated April 16, 1963 in a Birmingham jail. And if you're an activist, if you're really an American citizen, and you have not read a letter from a Birmingham jail, shame on you.
Shame on you.
Shame on you.
Shame.
Because you got to understand, he quoted from Thomas Aquinas, he had quoted from many philosophers, indeed recognizing that any law that does not reflect God's law is no law.
Okay? He also said unquestionably that the early church was a church that was shakers and movers, basically. He said they were too God intoxicated to be astronomically intimidated. And so he also basically talks about Martin Luther, the Jewish philosopher, who says, my movement, I am a pro-life activist. I have advocated for the unborn since the mid-90s, having known of the horror of the decimation of the African-American community by the tool of eugenics in America that is deliberate and systemic, targeting people of color and operating primarily through the Democrat Party. Now, I know there's Republicans that haven't got the vision yet, hallelujah, but I also recognize the system in which they're using to diminish the people of this nation of people of color. And so having recognized that and realizing that, Martin Luther King talked about Martin Luther, and he said, we have changed the I, thou to I, it. The I, thou to I, it. And that's what we have done when it comes to those who have not gained access to the American dream that are in the womb. It is no longer a person, it is an it. It is something indeed that is not tangible or life, and indeed we have reduced it down to an it. And if you reduce it down to an it, you can do whatever you want with it. Okay, but as I stated often, a person is a person, no matter how small. Martin Luther King said, let righteousness run down like water and holiness as a mighty stream. And this is what we unquestionably need in this nation at this time, at this moment. Now, my most favorite part of the Birmingham letter, knowing that he was incarcerated in a jail, they had to smuggle a pencil into him, they had to smuggle the paper into him, and they also smuggled the newspaper where he read from 8 other religious clergy who were Caucasians that he ought to calm his game down, in other words, and wait for a normal change to take place. And this is what these quotes I'm saying to you, he wrote out of his spirit. You know, the book of Deuteronomy came out of the spirit of Moses in one sitting. All chapters, he just began to utter them. And the same thing as it was with the Birmingham jail letter. He was not going to Google. He did not have a library. These were coming up out of his spirit when he quoted Thomas Aquinas, when he quoted Martin Buber, when he quoted, indeed, St. Augustine, an unjust law is any law that does not reflect God's moral law. That was Dr. King. Dr. King said these things. Now, he also basically let us know, indeed, that early church that he said, indeed, that we need to resemble were viewed as outside agitators. They were not mere thermometers that studied basically the opinions of what was popular. Martin said they were thermostats, all right? They changed the mores of society. They impacted the neighborhood. They impacted the city. He has a numerous, I said they were too God intoxicated to be astronomically intimidated, amen. They recognized what was in their spirit, and it was justice. And that's what ought to be motivating us today. Justice. It has to roll down as waters, and righteousness is a mighty stream. But my favorite part, I'm going to get to that, all right, in my wrap up here, all right? And it's what indeed I appreciate Donald Trump, because he indeed took the position of life, amen, protecting those who had no protection, trying to guard those indeed and give them access to the American dream, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. He was the one who actually did not only say he was pro-life, but he was the only president to ever physically go to the march, okay? And logistics is important when you're talking about shifting a nation and its culture and its mores and its thinking. People have to see if you're willing to step out into the public square and do what you have to do to communicate the message. But he said the early church put an end to such things, 2 things he mentioned: in a jail, incarcerated for social justice. He says this: the early church put an end to such things as infanticide, infant killing. He said the early church put an end to that. And he was talking about how the modern day church had now become too silent, the appalling silence, he said, about the justice issues that were facing the city at that time. And abortion was not one of them. I often say Martin's words are more real today than they were when he first said them. Now let me tell you what they used to do. By law, I'll say this, they had their Roe versus Wade. By law, a person could have a child and put that child by the side of the road, and if you put the child by the side of the road, the child was to then die. If you touched that child, not only if anybody saw you or reported you and they found that child with you, you were put to death. So what's the law? What's the law? If you have the child and you don't like the child, by law, you may place the child by the side of the road. But guess what? The early church scooped those children up, okay, and took them home and hid them, much like in Germany during Hitler's rage when he was attempting to exterminate not only Jews, but African Americans and everybody else, and they hid them. The early church, Martin references, said they did not count their lives unto death, all right? No greater love that a man has than this, and one that lays down his life for his friends. And so he's saying that early church, because of the amount of people that they saved and delivered, put an end to it. Put it into, once again, infanticide, infant killing. The other thing said they put an end to, he said gladiator contest. Okay, now what was that? Now that was their version of the WWF, but we won't get into that right now. The fact of the matter, it was called the Polystra. It is where you dealt to the death. You fought to die, okay? You know about that. All right, so one day a priest by the name of Telemachus was led to go into the arena, okay? And he goes into the arena and he sees all the dastardly, abominable things that are going on, man's inhumanity to man. Well, one gladiator has one soldier down, another gladiator down. And you see the gladiator and he's raising his sword, okay, and getting ready to kill the other gladiator, and he looks to the crowd. And the crowd is about to give him the thumbs down when a priest whom God led there to be witness to this busts through the crowd, goes down onto the floor of the base of the arena, right, and stands between the gladiator with his sword and the one that was falling. And what does he say? The killing must stop. All right? And that's what we should be saying in America. The killing must stop. The killing must stop. The crowd just began to go crazy and go bananas. The emperor, the Caesar, thought it to be funny, and everybody was looking and looking down at the situation, and he goes, indeed, did we get the thumbs up or the thumbs down? He is threatened by the other gladiator, and indeed, they go thumbs down. He hits Telemachus with a sword. Prior to the sword coming down, Telemachus did not beg for his life. He did not ask and say, this was just a bad joke, I got to get out of here. He says, first time killing was the second time, he says, the killing must stop. And the sword comes down and wounds him. Well, it's a mortal wound, okay? And the crowd is saying, finish him off, finish him off. And they're ranting and they're raving. They thought it to be so funny. And so the gladiator, this is history, this is true, this is what Martin Luther King was referencing when he was in jail. So at the last sword, he's coming down. What were his last words? The killing must stop. Last words of the priest. Caesar stood up. A hush went over the crowd. Caesar stood up and he walked out. The entourage that was with him walked out. Row by row, section by section, they walked out. Caesar went home. Now you know all he has to do is write a decree. And he takes his pen. And history dictates. History tells you that was the last gladiator contest in Rome on that day because somebody was willing to go into the public square. Somebody was willing to step down and lay down his life for his friends. Somebody did not count their lives so precious unto death than to stand up and testify to the truth of God. What? The killing must stop. Lastly, I wrote a piece many years ago. What Barack Obama calls good. What Kamala Harris now, I can interject, calls good. What Tim Walz calls good. Even if the child survives, he wrote a law saying don't indeed try to revive or save his child. What they call good, I announce and challenge anybody on the planet, it is quite clear, in writing, incarcerated, what you're calling good, Martin called evil. You need to get yourself together. Republican, Democrat, human being, our greatest civil rights leader called infant killing evil. Abortion is evil. You can be trapped into it, you can be seduced into it, you can be deceived by it. That's why there's the blood of the Lamb. Indeed, that if I confess my sin, he is faithful and just to forgive me of my sin and cleanse me from all unrighteousness. Now, who can carry that message but the church, and where does it have to go? To the politics, to the government. We are their actors. God bless you.
Thank you so much. Let's give it up. Let's give it up. I love the parallel that he created, and it reminded me of the number 7089. 7089. That is the criminal number that they gave Martin Luther King when he was arrested for fighting for our people. Why that is relevant, because today they will tell you don't support Donald Trump because he's a felon. The felons are always the people who are trying so hard to help our community as a whole. It's almost like it's against the law to help and stand with the people. We see these people time and time again go against adversity, but we will win. We will definitely win. And Donald Trump will win for 2024. So with that being said, we have to win also with health freedoms. I like that he left off with that, and I want to take the opportunity to bring up a health advocate at this time who is doing some extraordinary things. Please give it up for Robin Leverato, if I didn't say her name right. Leverato? Leverato? Come on up, Robin. Let's show Robin some love. Health advocate.
Wow, a bunch of really tough acts to follow. I'm nervous now. All right, can everybody hear me? Okay. I'm here to talk to you about a war that we have in our country right now that, I don't know, Biden, Kamala Harris, Walz are saying there's no war in our country. We're losing 100,000 people each year to fentanyl poisoning. And that is a weapon of mass destruction. We are in a war. I'm just going to start from the top. Big Pharma, the big pharmaceutical companies, Purdue in general, and the others intentionally created the opioid crisis in 1996. Pharmaceutical companies went out to insurance companies and said, if people are leaving your doctor's office and your hospitals and they're still in pain, you should not be paying those doctors in those hospitals. A new drug came out, OxyContin. They were pushing this OxyContin left and right. Beautiful young men, beautiful young women with lots of gifts were visiting the healthcare offices, pushing this OxyContin. So these doctors and healthcare providers, they wanted to get paid. So what they do, they push the OxyContin. Nobody left the offices in pain. You have those little things on the wall, 0 to 10. What's your pain? Little. Oh yeah, there you go. So they were leaving the hospitals and they were leaving the doctor's office with no pain, with these oxys that the pharmaceutical companies knew were addictive, very addictive. By 2013, America was consuming 80% of all opioids prescribed throughout the world. 80% of Americans
were prescribed the most prescriptions out of the entire world. Americans have more pain than anybody else? No. This was a created epidemic. 2016, 64,000 Americans died from overdose. When Donald took office, Donald Trump, our next president, took office in October 2017, he declared the opioid crisis a public health emergency and began his plan. By 2018, Donald Trump's plan included securing $6 billion to fight the opioid crisis. Monitoring the doctors who prescribed opioids was his big thing. These doctors were overprescribing. They were illegally prescribing. His safer prescribing plan has saved lives. Less pills, more education, and a database system that puts every doctor in who's prescribing. All that doctor shopping that was going on with those addicted, it was cut. He closed the border to the illegal drugs coming in. He demanded treatment be evidence-based, and he added recovery supports. Under Donald Trump, the DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, investigated the doctors who were making money off those addicted. The drugs were decreasing. His first year in office, Donald Trump worked with Congress to pass the Support Act, the single largest legislative package addressing a single drug crisis in history. Donald Trump's plan decreased opioid prescription by 16%, heroin use by more than 50%. Our drug problem was decreasing. Donald Trump's plan shut down the biggest internet, dark web, darknet distributors. He also took more than 2,300 pounds of fentanyl off the streets. That's a shout out to our U.S. DEA, Drug Enforcement Administration, and our U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement, and all of our law enforcement. We cannot defund law enforcement. Donald Trump increased the treatment center admission rates. Our admission rates went up. People were getting the treatment they needed for this man-made epidemic. Donald Trump's brother Fred was an alcoholic. His brother's sad story fuels Donald Trump's passion to save those struggling with any substance use disorder. Governor Murphy, his legislation, he passed a law that legalized marijuana. I understand decriminalizing, but really making it legal? Right now we have more kids using at an earlier age because they see their parents using it legally, and that is a deficit to our community. We are oppressing our people. We're dumbing them down by allowing them to have legalized drugs. Since Biden and Kamala Harris have been in office, selfishly reversed almost every successful policy of Donald Trump's. On purpose, our borders are open. China is supplying the Mexican drug cartels with the chemicals to make fentanyl, and the cartels are bringing it into our country through the borders, killing Americans. This is a war against us. Our enemy, Biden, Kamala Harris, Chinese criminals, Mexican cartels. We need our immigration, right? We need our legal immigration. Check out these numbers. In 2021, okay, after our Biden was in office, 107,622 died in America from overdose. 2022, 107,941 died in America. 2,889 in New Jersey, with 449 in Essex County. Every year, every week, every day, Essex County has the highest rate of overdose. Last week, we lost 31 people from overdose. Can you imagine if 31 people died in Essex County last week from peanut butter being tainted with fentanyl, or a black bear eating kids in their backyard? But because there's a stigma on addiction, which shouldn't be because it's a true brain disease, we are not addressing it. Did anybody know that 31 people died last week in our county? 2024 so far, we have 1,486 people dead so far, close to 300 in Essex County. Those numbers, just take a look at those numbers. That's like 250 747s with 400 or 500 people in them. 200 of those planes going down each year. If we had 250 planes going down each year, killing our beloved Americans, we would be doing something about it. Because again, the stigma of addiction, because those people, those kind of people aren't worth it. They are worth it. I work with people in recovery every day. If I didn't have my recovery guys who have lived experience, I would not be saving the lives that we're saving. So they are worth it. I don't care if we have to Narcan them or not. Okay, Kamala Harris, our drug czar, opened our borders and let our enemies into our country, gave them food, shelter, phones, and a venue to attack us with fentanyl. This is the weapon of mass destruction used in this war. I'm going to go fast because I'm out of time. Harm reduction is great, but it will never help to win this war. Vote Donald Trump. He understands addiction. He understands how to protect our country. He understands how to eradicate the enemy. His running mate for VP, J.D. Vance, understands addiction. His mom, thankfully, is in recovery from substance use disorder. We all know someone struggling with addiction, a true brain disease. Help them by voting Donald Trump. In memory of all those lost to the reverse laws of Kamala Harris and Biden, all of those reverse laws of Donald Trump, vote in memory of those who were lost. Here in Essex County, we have the highest rate of OD okay. Donald Trump reacts, he's proactive, he's smart, he's sensible. He's a regular guy. Donald Trump is not a politician. He's not looking to be a career politician. He doesn't need them. He's looking to help our country. He's helping to save lives. So make a change again. Get out there, vote for Donald Trump, vote for all the Republicans down the line, and let's save the lives of those struggling with substance use disorder. Thank you for having me. Okay, I'm Robin Lamorato. I'm up here on my own as an individual citizen, but I do have a recovery center, Essex Health and Wellness Recovery Center, an office in Newark and an office in Montclair. You can reach out to Barb, get my information if anyone needs help. I'm having a huge walk. Every year we do it, our 7th walk. We start at Newark School Stadium in Newark. We walk straight down the avenue to Caldwell. We have start-stop locations, about 600 people. Great luncheon presentation after at the First Baptist Church in Caldwell. Great opportunity for you to come out there with your Trump shirts, with your Republican gear, and get some people voting the way we need them to vote to save lives. Thanks for having me, everybody.
Health is such a big issue. Such a big issue that people don't give it enough attention to it, especially when we have candidates that are running and they're encouraging a platform of identity politics. Health doesn't even come into play. So with that being said, I would like to bring up Vicky Capish, if I'm saying that correctly. I'm sorry, give it up for Vicky Capish. Vicky Capish. And also just really quick, please everybody make sure you sign up at the table. Just raise your hand right here at the table for Barbara. Everybody just look at the table so that you can be on the email list so that we can keep getting information and the facts about the things that we need in our country to make it great again.
I will try to talk quickly. I know we have some time constraints here. Hi everyone, my name is Victoria Capish. I'm proud to advocate for health freedom and informed consent here in New Jersey. I've had the privilege of working with numerous medical freedom organizations seeking to raise awareness, affect legislation, and help protect our children against unnecessary and unconstitutional, medical intervention and mandates. In 2020, we all saw so many of our medical freedoms compromised with nonsensical and unscientific rules like staying 6 feet apart, forced PCR testing, wearing surgical masks whenever we were in public, and worst of all, the introduction of an untested and unsafe injection. The medical authorities who we were supposed to be listening to finally admitted that the 6 feet apart rule was basically made up. The tests we were forced to take, we learned were never intended to or effective at detecting the presence of COVID virus. The masks we had to wear, which are designed to block large droplets during surgeries, proved to be more harmful than helpful and are not even effective at preventing viral particles from moving from one person to another. And the forced COVID vaccines, which had and continue to have the possibility of enormous harms to our health, but were forced on Americans in order to keep their jobs or remain in school. In fact, Rutgers University was the first in the United States to mandate the COVID shot for its students. In 2021, Rutgers also, coincidentally or not, received the largest amount of donations than any university in the country from none other than Pfizer Pharmaceuticals.
almost $2 million that year. None of the COVID injections have been properly tested, yet they were forced upon Americans through coercion, threats, and insulting incentive programs like promises of donuts and free McDonald's. COVID showed us the greatest attack on our own medical choices than we've ever seen in this country. There was an unprecedented effort to silence and censor any medical professionals, experts in their field, who questioned the COVID narrative. Treatments that were effective, safe, and inexpensive were denied to patients despite families' desperate requests, and instead, patients were given the standard COVID hospital protocol of ventilators and remdesivir, which sadly ended up being a death sentence for so many. Under the guise of public health, we were force-fed propaganda that made us fearful and were labeled anti-science conspiracy theorists for suggesting anything other than what our TVs were telling us. Meanwhile, church was closed, but the liquor store was open. I'm going to skip ahead because I know we have limited time. Children in the United States, if they are up to date with the CDC recommended schedule, will receive 72 injections total. And parents are never given true informed consent about any of them. Informed consent means all the information about a vaccine or other medical intervention, the ingredients, the true risks, and your options should be given. We're told the biggest danger is redness around the injection site and maybe a slight fever. That is a lie. They also don't tell you that in 45 states, including New Jersey, you have the option of religious exemption, which they did try to take away here in New Jersey in the winter of 2020, right before COVID. Could it be that they know if they told parents the truth about the risks and your actual options, too many would say, no, thank you, not today. But as Robert F. Kennedy Jr. reminds us, the most profitable thing in America today is a sick child. As all of you know, Bobby Kennedy left the Democratic Party, and he did this for many reasons. The Democratic Party has become the party of mandates and censorship. The Democratic Party has become the party that tells you what is information and what is misinformation. They're the party telling you, we only want to censor the lies, but they get to determine what the lies are. The truth is that the biggest perpetrator of lies, particularly during the epidemic, was the U.S. government and the Democratic Party itself. We have the most over-medicated and sickest population in the world, and that is not by accident. These are death versus life matters. The health of our families is not a political issue, it's a human issue. But healthy families don't make money for the right people. You are the best person to make medical decisions for your child, not pharmaceutical companies or the state. Ask the questions, don't be bullied out of making informed choices for your family, and never concede to co-parenting with the government. Robert Kennedy Jr., in closing, has been a champion of children's health for decades. And over the summer, Donald Trump met with groups of medical freedom advocates from New Jersey and communicated to them personally that he is adamantly against vaccine mandates of any kind. And it's one of the reasons I'm proud to cast my vote for Donald Trump on November 5th and support the partnership of he and Bobby Kennedy Jr. to make America healthy again. Thank you.
So it takes bold advocates like Vicky, to make sure that our health is secured. With that being said, I want to call up, and I know we're reaching the 2 o'clock mark, so I'm going to ask the speakers to try to just be a little bit more succinct with their messaging. It's important, but I want to get everything in. So let's give it up for Felicia Mileli. Give it up for Felicia Mileli. These are our bold advocates, guys.
It's so great to be here. Thank you. So, hello everyone. My name is Felicia Mileli. I am the board chair for New Jersey Public Health Innovation Political Action Committee. As a lifelong resident of New Jersey, a mother of 4, a passionate advocate for health and well-being, I am deeply committed to protecting and strengthening health freedom for all New Jersey residents. For these reasons and others, I am honored to be here today, and I am thankful for all that made this day possible. As a community and as a nation, we are at the brink of what may be the most pivotal moment of our lifetimes. The question is, have we collectively had enough? Are we ready to take a stand for ourselves, our families, and our nation as a whole? Today, I want to address an issue that affects all of us. Our health, our fundamental right to choose what is best for our bodies. And currently, we find ourselves trapped in a system driven by profit and power. An authoritarian government and a medical industrial complex that favors sickness over wellness and which continues to inflict top-down mandates and erode our personal and parental freedoms. It is time for us to reclaim our health choices and demand a government that respects our individual health rights. To make this clear, there are no one-size-fits-all approaches to medicine. The science is never settled, and we deserve true informed consent as well as safe and effective health treatments. These are our fundamental health rights. Let me share a brief bit about my personal journey. I began my career in the pharmaceutical industry, witnessing firsthand how politics, profit, often before our public health. When my own chronic health issues persisted and conventional treatments failed, I turned to alternative methods. This led me to become a holistic health coach, where I empower families to understand our body's inflammatory processes, reproductive health, and the importance of good nutrition. I believe that health of our communities can only flourish when the individuality of each person's health need is honored. While there is certainly a place for conventional medicine and life-saving surgeries, our healthcare choices must remain ours. This isn't just my story. I am standing here with a call to action for all of us. We need to educate ourselves and support one another to remain in control of our health and our well-being. Because let us not be fooled. The current administration does not prioritize us. Since 2020, I have devoted my time to fight here in New Jersey for health freedom. Along with 6 other concerned parents, I launched the New Jersey Public Health Innovation Political Action Committee. We have been at the forefront of key elections here in New Jersey. We also actively engage the New Jersey residents and inform them of legislation and encourage them to take action. Lawmakers in New Jersey have put relentless efforts to undermine our health freedoms. There is currently legislation to push and to implement federally qualified healthcare centers in our schools, which could create additional hurdles between our children and their healthcare decisions surrounding future pandemics, their reproductive rights, mental health care, and much, much more. New Jersey legislators also are targeting our healthcare providers with a bill seeking to silence anyone who addresses the question dares to question the mainstream media. The mainstream narrative. Over and over again, we see bills that aim to give autonomy to minors, furthering the separation between family values and in my opinion, this is threatening to the safety of our children. On a federal level, there are moves to transfer state and federal authority to the World Health Organization, allowing them to regulate our health systems, particularly in areas like medical surveillance and pandemic management. And this concerning list of legislation goes on and on and on. These are the are these policies keeping us healthy? For a moment, please consider these staggering facts. The U.S. spends $4.3 trillion each year on healthcare. Yet, what do we have to show for it? 2 more minutes, let's get through it. Thank you. Are our children and our peers healthier as a result? I don't think so. They certainly are not. Today, 74% of our children, your families, have at least one chronic health condition. In the 1970s, 1 in 10,000 children were diagnosed with autism. Today, that number has skyrocketed to 1 in 34 children who have autism. According to the CDC, 1 in 5 adolescents and 1 in 4 young children have pre-diabetes. These statistics are not just numbers. They represent our children and consequently our future. We must confront the sobering truth that Americans are dying at younger than the previous generations. Why is this happening? The system is failing us, prioritizing profit over people. It's time for us to push back against these troubling trends. We must advocate for food systems that truly nourish us, healthcare systems that genuinely heal us, and politics and policies that respect our health sovereignty. Do you know that the fertility rate is plummeting at an alarming rate? Will we even have a generation of informed voters? This is deeply troubling to me because everything I do everything I'm doing right now is for my children and my children's children. But let's be clear, and I'll wrap this up. The fight for parental rights and health freedom is not just a personal issue. It is a collective struggle. It is a resistance against an overreaching system that seeks to undermine our rights and dictate how we live our lives. The resistance starts here. The resistance starts with you. Your vote matters. You matter. Your children matter. I implore each and every single one of you today. There is a decent crowd, a large crowd of people who came here today. But if every single one of you leaves here right now and text 10 people and tell them we need to do this for our children, for our health, because I don't know if we'll have a generation of voters and people that support the policies that we long for if we don't do that today. So please do that. Thank you.
And just closing out in the category of health freedom, which is really important. Many of you may be aware of the recent articles that talked about the lead levels here in the city of Newark and how this city was swindled yet again out of $10 million tax dollars, and I'm a taxpayer here, from the local Democratic leadership that we have. Now, this is not the first time we've been swindled. There was also a sister city situation that occurred here. And with all of this swindling out of money, we still don't have clean water. So when we're hearing the situation about our kids having autism, and there's so many people that are not here that couldn't be here today. I want to bring one parent's name up, Shakima Thomas. She's a parent advocate here. She went really hard for the water situation. And for her troubles, she got taken to court. Because censorship is real. They don't want you to say anything. I've heard other people here today boldly speak about the bullying that goes on, and they just want to push one narrative. So we have to fight for our freedoms. We have to always fight. We have to fight for the liberation to enjoy what our Constitution brings to us and not allow anybody or anything to push us to the peripheral or to ostracize our voices in this time. With that being said, I know I'm up here next, but I've said all I need to say right now. I want to bring up Paul Lund at this time, and he's going to take it from here so I can go get me a little break. I've been talking a lot, my mouth is kind of dry. So let's give it up for Paul Lund, and we're going to continue.
Oh man, we used to be be in business, and they used to say that the minds can only absorb what the butts can endure. I invite any of you who need to fluff out your pillows, stand up a little bit, get a little energy going, because we're in the home stretch. Come on with it. Give a little stretch. I'll be like, who used to lead the, I'm not Jack LaLanne, you won't know that reference, I'm that old. What was that other guy dancing to the oldies? Richard Simmons. Thank you guys. Listen, I appreciate every single one of you. I am not moved by what I see because I know that this is just a humble beginning. We are committed. This is not just an election cycle stunt to get a few votes. We know that's not going to happen. If we want to affect real change and lasting change, that's going to be over a long haul, which a lot of us are committed to. There was a little bit of a controversy early on. You know, who is this meeting for? Is it to get a few people in office? Hopefully, yes, but more than that, who is this meeting for? It's for the people of Newark. Why? Because it's been said that as Newark goes, so does the state. And as the state of New Jersey, which is so-called blue, but I'm not as convinced it's as blue as people think it is, I think there's a groundswell of support for Donald J. Trump. And I tell you this, he wanted to drain the swamp. And the swamp included a fair amount of Republicans along with Democrats. This is not a partisan thing, it's the truth. There is the political establishment that we are fighting against. This is a we the people against taking back the government. Don't lose sight of that. Now, without further ado, I want to give great respect and honor to one of Newark's own. He's a chaplain for the New Jersey State Police. He's been waiting patiently here to share with you, and I know he's got a lot on his heart and a lot on his mind, but remember guys, we are about fighting for the soul of a nation. What is America going to be? Are we going to go back to the founding principles of limited government and the dignity of every human life? Or are we going to continue on that pathway of identity politics, putting people in boxes, trapping them in boxes, and then setting them at each other's throat? I tell you, you got to recognize who the dividers are. You got to recognize who the victimizers are. They're trying to point to the guy who's trying to make things right. They're trying to blame the guy who's trying to make things right. Now, without further ado, I want to bring up the great pastor, Hector Ferrer. Please give him a great round of applause.
Good afternoon, everyone. God bless you. In the interest of time, I will attempt to make my comments as brief as possible. The word declares that we're to give honor where honor is due. And in that spirit and in that light, I wish to honor Bill, Barbara Ames for being just amazing, amazing leaders, amazing patriots. And I also want to thank the citizens of Newark, all of you that were able to make it. You have our love, respect, and support. I also want to thank everyone from the Mordecai mission as well. They have our respect, all the parents, and all the countless unsung heroes that have made this event possible, that work behind the scenes. My objective today is to help advance not only the culture of life, but also to advance, obviously, Donald J. Trump, who is without a doubt, the most pro-life president that we have ever had. The subject of pro-life is one that is very personal to me. I was very blessed and honored to have worked with Norman McCorvey, who's the Roe in Roe versus Wade. And I'd just like to point out 3 key points that the mainstream media will not share with you. Number 1, Ms. McCorvey filed a motion to overturn Roe versus Wade. So once she and number 2, she had accepted the Lord in her life. And that was a crucial turning point in her life, and then began to overturn exactly the landmark case which had started the American Holocaust in our country. Number 3, she decided to then become pro-life and advance that culture. She then advocated and lobbied with Congress and the Supreme Court officials and so forth, and only helped to support candidates that were also pro-life. Unfortunately, she has gone on and is with the Lord at this time, but we honor her memory and all that she has done to help advance the culture of life. Since 1973, approximately 66 million babies have been aborted. It is the largest genocide, infanticide, and genocide in American history. It is a racial cleansing that affects primarily people of color like you and I, black and brown. Approximately 15 million African American babies have been aborted since 1973, while only representing 15% of the population. They represent almost half of the abortions in this country. The second reason why the pro-life movement is very important to me is because I am honored to have my son, who we affectionately call King David, here today, and I'm a Hispanic, single father to a special needs son. And I assure you that I would not be half the man that I am today had it not been for the birth of my son. And his birth is my rebirth. And it is then that I decided to honor the Lord with my life. And this is the legacy that I want to give and leave. But unfortunately, many special needs children with Down syndrome and many other deficiencies are aborted. 90% are aborted. But I thank God that I chose life, and I thank God once again for our president, who is again one of the most pro-life presidents in American history. But the main thing that I kept feeling today is the power of one. The power of one. Pastor eloquently stated that, it referenced Marilyn O'Hara in 1962, where she, by the Supreme Court, had the prayers removed from schools. We have Norma McCorvey, who, while at one point advocated for abortion, turned her life around. Now it now circles back to us. The power of one, the power of you and you and you and you and you and you and me to make the change in this country. So the question will be, whom will we serve? And in Joshua, before one quick point, I wanted to make just at least 3 accomplishments by Donald Trump. He fulfilled his campaign promise to not only appoint pro-life justices to the United States Supreme Court. Donald Trump has also has deprived the abortion industry of millions of dollars. He signed legislation to permit the states to defund Planned Parenthood. President Trump implemented the Protect Life rule. President Trump reinstated the expanded Mexico City policy. I can go on and on and on. But as I close now, the final words that I can say in reference is out of Joshua 24:15. Joshua says, "Choose this day whom you will serve, whether the gods of your ancestors who served in the region beyond the river, or the gods of the Amorites in whose land you are living. But as for me and my house, we shall serve the Lord." Whom will you serve? A president or an administration that will keep you captive in Egypt, or a president that will take you into the promised land? God bless you, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, Zachariah Jackson, BASA News. Goodbye.